So I actually had a whole video planned for today, but I left all my ingredients back at my parents' house. I'm currently staying there quite a lot as my partner Sophie is in hospital, so I'm of course visiting her as much as possible. But today I'm just popping back to the house, checking on Mitzi, making sure she's okay, and the house is all good, doing a bit of watering, that sort of thing. And then I'll be heading back to my parents tomorrow. So yeah, we're going to film something completely different as I have nothing to cook with. So when I say I have nothing to eat, I do have a few bits and bobs. I of course still have a bunch of condiments in the fridge. We've got one block of tofu, although I've been eating a lot of tofu recently, so I might try something else. And then we've got some tomato puree and some sun-dried tomatoes here. No fresh produce, sadly, and some dog food, which I don't think we're going to be using. And then we do have a nicely stocked store cupboard as well, so definitely not without food. And I think down here, we have also got some potatoes and onions. So I'm going to have a rummage around and see what I fancy cooking. If you haven't given Soy Chunks a go, definitely give them a try. With the right cooking techniques and flavorings, they can taste really delicious. They're also a great protein choice to have in the store cupboard for when you've forgotten to buy some tofu or tempeh. They take up very little space as they're of course dried, and all you have to do is rehydrate them. Plus, per 100 grams, they contain 51 grams of protein, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so I'm going to start work on the soya chunks and rehydrate them in some vegan chicken stock. Or you can just use some vegetable stock. And we'll just leave them to soak up all that flavor for around 10 to 15 minutes, or until they're fully hydrated. You can also rehydrate them in cold stock or water for around 40 minutes to an hour, but it's of course going to be a lot quicker in some boiling water like we're doing here. So I'll just leave them for now. Okay, the soy chunks have rehydrated nicely now. You can see they are lovely and juicy, which is exactly what we want. And we're just going to drain them off now. You can see that small bowl of soy chunks has expanded into a pretty serious portion now. Now what you need to do is give them a good squeeze. You want to get out a fair bit of moisture, or else they're going to have a sort of sponge-like texture, which we certainly don't want. So into a mixing bowl, I'm going to add some seasonings. This is just a generic chicken seasoning. It's got paprika, thyme, rosemary, lemon peel, lots of lovely spices and herbs in there. Then I'm going to go in with some cornflour to help get the soy chunks lovely and crispy. And then we'll just add a good glug of olive oil, maybe about a tablespoon. And then just give that a good whisk together. So one should really create a tofu seasoning brand. I don't know if there's already one out there, but I think it would be pretty cool. They could do like a scrambled tofu seasoning, a smoky one, a sort of umami one with lots of dried mushrooms in. Let me know if there's a brand out there that does that. I guess you can just use the ones which are made for meat, like this chicken seasoning I'm using now, but it would be cool to have a sort of tofu and tempeh specific ones. And then just add in your soy chunks, and we're going to get them nice and coated in those seasonings. Smells amazing. I'm going to add some extra pepper just because I like things nice and peppery. Okay, that is looking good. Poppy! Sorry guys. Okay, so I've got a bunch of onions which are starting to create new life, so I'm going to make use of these in this dish. Bit of a mixed bag with these onions. Some are definitely past their best, and then some of them are absolutely fine, like this one. And then I want this to be quite a rustic stew, so I'm just going to slice these onions, and then we'll get them lovely and caramelized in the pan. Not too thin, as we don't want them to burn too quickly. We want them to get lovely and golden. And I've got some potatoes here, which are also starting to get a little bit old, but that is all good. I'm just going to use my knife to quickly remove these sprouting bits. They feel slightly soft, but I think they're going to be fine. They're not green, so that's the important bit. And I'm actually going to peel these potatoes. I know there's a lot of nutrients and fiber, of course, in the skin, but I'm just not feeling the skin today. You can do as you please. Skin on, skin off, it's up to you. And then I'm just going to cut these potatoes into bite-sized chunks, sort of fairly chunky pieces. Just go in half and then into about 8 pieces. These are sort of medium potatoes, I'd say. And then I've got 5 cloves of garlic here, which I'm just going to crush so that I can get the skin off nice and easy. I think this is the only vegetable I've got that isn't sprouting. Makes it so easy to remove the peel, just giving it a quick crush. This is a rustic stew, so don't worry about the chopping. It can be as chunky or as random as you like. It's going to be absolutely fine because it's going to be cooked nice and slowly and everything will become lovely and soft. So for this garlic, I'm just going to simply slice it. And since we've already crushed it, it's going to break apart quite easily. But like I said, we're slow cooking this dish, so any big chunks of garlic will just become really nice and mellow and sweet. Okay, I've got a lovely big sprig of rosemary here from the garden. So I'm just going to remove all those leaves. I just love rosemary, it just smells so good as you pick it. Floral, woody, almost sort of nutty in flavour. And then just bunch that up into a nice tight pack and we'll give that a quick chop. It doesn't have to be super fine. Just going to make a quick vegetable stock. So I've got a nice vegetable stock cube here, just crumble that in. I've also got some saffron here, so I'm going to add that in as well. It's going to add a lovely colour and floral flavour to this dish. For a cheaper alternative to saffron, you could use some turmeric, maybe a little sumac, a touch of fennel as well to add that sort of floral note. You can also get something called safflower, which is like a cheaper alternative to saffron. It doesn't have quite the same flavour, but it does have a nice red colour. Just give that a quick mix and we'll let the saffron infuse into the stock. That'll just take the stew to another level. Time to get these soy chunks fried up. So I'm going to add some rapeseed oil to a nice hot pan. And then once that oil is hot, we're going to add in our soy chunks. I could probably have done with a slightly larger pan, but as long as the pan is hot, we'll get some nice caramelization. Try not to move these around too much as we want them to develop a really nice crust on them. Nice and golden and crispy. So we'll just leave them for a couple minutes and then we'll flip them. Cooking is all about using your senses and I can smell that there is some caramelization developing on these, so I'm going to give them a quick turn. Now, although we want to get these crispy and really nice and coloured, we also don't want to completely dry them out. We want them to be at least slightly juicy. So just a couple of minutes on each side will be great. You can also air fry them or roast them if you want to. These are looking and smelling so tasty. Very excited to dig into these. Crispy edges, juicy in the center. It's going to be good. When you're cooking these, I would just keep tasting them until they're the texture that you want. These are looking perfect now. We're going to set them aside until the stew is ready. I'll definitely be cooking with soy chunks more. I think I will do a dedicated video on how to make them really tasty. Let's start this Spanish style stew with a nice glug of olive oil. This little olive oil pourer was a gift from my partner, so thank you, Sophie, if you're watching. We'll go in with those sliced onions. And I've got this over a medium heat. This pan's quite heavy, so it's going to take a while to heat up. Also going in with a lovely fragrant bay leaf. And a generous pinch of salt to help draw out the moisture from those onions. About a quarter teaspoon of sugar is going to help speed up the caramelization process. But if you're not short on time, then don't worry about adding that in. And just initially, I'm going to put a lid on just for a few minutes to help soften the onions. I actually got a new pepper grinder for my birthday from my parents, which I'm very grateful for. And it's actually made by Peugeot, so I'm hoping if they can make cars, then they can make a good pepper grinder. We'll see. And one cool thing about this pepper grinder is you can choose how finely ground the pepper is. I believe there's 5 settings, or 6 settings even. This isn't sponsored, just thought I'd show off my new little gadget. And these onions are coming along nicely. Adding in that small pinch of sugar really does speed up the process. When you are a little short on time, like I am, I have to make maximum use of the time that Poppy is napping before she wakes up and wants to have a play. So these are looking quite nice. I'm just going to give them a few more minutes. The garlic and rosemary will just cook off for about a minute and a half. Just going to add a touch more olive oil. Next up, a nice heaped teaspoon of sweet smoked paprika. Or of course you can add the spicy version if you like it a little bit hot. Also going to add in a touch of cumin, maybe about a third of a teaspoon I would say. We'll let those spices toast off for just 30 seconds or so. Just lower the heat of the pan slightly as well to medium-low I'd say. And then next to go in, we've got some tomato puree. And once again we'll cook that for around 30 seconds to a minute, get it really nice and caramelized on the bottom of the pan. This will get it lovely and sweet and cook off any sort of bitterness. Now at this point you could deglaze the pan with some white wine or red wine if you wanted to. I don't actually have any, so I'm just going to do some chopped tomatoes. And of course wash out the can with some water so you don't waste any. So I've got these dried olives here that my brother bought me a while back, which I've been meaning to use for quite some time now. But my partner doesn't like olives, so I haven't got round to it. And they'll just rehydrate in this stew. Of course you can just use regular olives if you'd like. Now we're going to cook some potatoes in this dish, so I'm going to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon of bicarbonate soda. This is going to help neutralize some of the acid in the tomatoes, which can prevent the potatoes from cooking properly. But you don't want to add too much or else it's just going to turn everything to mush, which we certainly don't want. In goes our beautiful saffron vegetable stock. Make sure you don't leave any of that behind. Then the potatoes, I just had them stored in cold water as I had to look after Poppy for a minute. Nice chunky bits of potato there, really nice. I've added 500 ml vegetable stock. We may need more, but I can always address that later on. You can add, but you can't take away. So we'll just bring that to a simmer now. I'm going to add a good grating of black pepper on a fairly coarse setting on the pepper grinder. Generally with pepper grinders, I would just slightly loosen this top part to make the pepper more coarse. But this pepper grinder has its own built-in coarseness function. I can smell the saffron, the olives, that smoky paprika. It's very exciting. Okay, this has come to a simmer, so I'm going to turn the heat down to low and give it a final stir. And then pop a lid on and we're going to gently cook this stew. I'm not sure how long yet the potatoes will cook, but I'll check after 20 minutes. Okay, it has been 20 minutes. I'm guessing these potatoes aren't going to be done yet, but it's always good to have a check. Always a good idea to get your biggest potato. And actually they're coming along nicely. Not quite there though, we want them really buttery soft. They definitely need at least another 5 minutes, I'd say. So on with the lid again, and we'll let them cook for a little longer. These potatoes are nearly cooked to my liking. I'm going to remove just a couple of them, maybe just 3. And then using a fork, I'm just going to crush them into a sort of paste, which we'll add back into the stew to help thicken it slightly. Just making some mashed potatoes essentially here. Just like that, don't worry if it is slightly lumpy, it's absolutely fine. Also adding in some beautiful sun-dried tomatoes, which I've just finely chopped. And now we're just going to let this cook until it is a consistency that we're happy with. I think this is going to be lovely with some crusty bread. And then once it is a consistency you're happy with, you can add in those really nice crunchy soy chunks. You could serve these on the side if you wanted to keep them really nice and crunchy. I'd say you only want to add them in for a maximum of around 5 minutes. If you add them in for too long, they're going to start to get a little bit spongy. But this is looking really good now. Okay, I think it's time to serve up. I'm very happy with what I've been able to create with my store cupboard ingredients. Potatoes are perfectly cooked. Really flavoursome. That saffron has really infused into those potatoes. Nice salty olives, that's really lovely. There's quite a nice variety in texture with the soya chunks. Some bits are chewy, some bits are juicy, and then some bits still have a slightly crispy edge. So yeah, really nice. Poppy has just walked in and flomped herself on the floor. It is really hot today. She is one hot pooch. I think I'll go get her a fan so she can cool off. Thank you so much for watching, and in general, just a massive thank you for the support here on YouTube and on my Patreon page. It is greatly appreciated, and another thank you for all the lovely, kind comments. I do read all of them. I don't always have time to reply to them, but I do try my best. And on that note, we're closing in on 50,000 subscribers, which is just insane. I remember when I had just a few hundred a couple years ago. It's been a long journey, but I've enjoyed every bit of it. Whether you've been here from the start or you've just joined, a big thank you to every single one of you. And I'll see you in a new video very soon. Bye-bye.